Hello you, it's me. Today we're going to talk about Broken Ghosts by Niall Griffiths, a British author with Welsh ancestry who currently lives in Wales and writes novels that are predominantly set in Wales. This book won the 2020 Wales Book of the Year prize, which was previously also awarded to Niall Griffiths for his novel Stump in 2013. He also writes these gritty, off-the-beaten-path travel guides, and has written one so far for Liverpool and Aberystwyth. The book follows three characters: Adam, who is an ex-drug addict and alcoholic; Emma, who is a single mother struggling to raise a son alone; and Cowley, a man who was abused as a child and spends his life taking his anger, shame and misery out on the world around him. At a party in the early hours on a mountain called Pendam in Wales, they see the huge figure of a woman hanging in the mist above a lake, clumsy. Unsure whether it's a collective hallucination, something natural or something miraculous and magic, they then have to return to their everyday lives with this experience at the back of their minds. Adam finds the funding to his rehab centre has been cut in the wake of a Brexit referendum. Cowley gets sucked deeper and deeper into a violent and chaotic lifestyle and is blamed for a death that happens in the town. And Emma posts blog entries about a woman in the mist, which causes a mass pilgrimage to Pendam and the sort of spark of a new spiritual awakening. In an Irvine Welsh-esque way, this book uses a lot of phonetic spelling of thick Welsh accent, and while it's not as hard to get into the rhythm of it as Irvine Welsh's is, it might be hard for some people who don't know what a Welsh accent sounds like. It also has a lot of words and whole sentences thrown in Welsh, some of which you can work out from context, but most of which you will have to look up if you're not familiar with the language at all. Don't just gloss over them though. Look them up. It is important, and Welsh has been glossed over for far too long. Going into this was a lot more political than I thought it was going to be. It lured me in with the promise of magic, setting the scene with a ghostly miracle, which then fails to return. I was waiting for it to come back, and it never did. But that was exactly the point of a big portion of the book. You see some magic, you're unable to explain it, and then have to just, return to your life. The same exact horrible situation you were in before, unchanged in any way by your experience. It's depressing. Yeah, this is a depressing book for the most part, but it addresses that really realistically, and every character has a very unique reaction to the experience. It's sad, but really real when, in the characters, it's pushed to the back of their mind, for the most part, as they have to just deal with real life. A miracle can literally be pushed out of the way because humans are trying to survive and they don't have time for magic. The author's use of language is gorgeous. His obsession with filth and squalor might overwhelm some people initially, but to them I'd say stick with it. He's a dark guy and can really paint emotion into his work. I'll read you two passages that I really liked for different reasons. He can drink whatever and whenever he likes. He's an adult. He's a grown-up now. But in truth, there never was for him, in booze, that incredibility that there seemed to be for others. He never really experienced that immense and terrific seas of the blood that he discovered later in other drugs, the white rock and the brown powder. But in those lies calamity now, and in any case, it's not entirely about the hit. Not entirely. It's about the putting of him into the world in a condition of disassembly. All defences drowned, a declaration. There was an event that did this to me. Do not help me rebuild, but look upon me in this awful vulnerability and see what powers I have felt and encountered, and how bereft their passing has left me. Pray that you never know such visitation. The way the book paints the picture of vice for both Adam and Emma was amazing, and you really understand to how somebody that is under stress and battling addiction and compulsion, the entire world is just a barrage of just crack. Who cares? Claire had stopped the van and they'd gotten out and gone over to the animal lying broken at the roadside, squatted down next to it. Its breath, how shocking loud that had been, and how fast, the quick rips of it, the ribs going in and out, the eyes clouded over already, but the bellows of the breath frantic. And then everything had just stopped, in a nanosecond, from one state to the other. and so great the breach between the two seemed. Eyes to pebbles, in one quick trip of the heart. I love that. I love the way Griffiths uses interludes almost that were bird's eye views or invisible eye views of things going on, focusing on landscape or heavily on nature or just the big picture. The way the story would get you invested in human struggle and problems and then constantly make you step back and look at a bigger or smaller picture and remind you how inconsequential human suffering is as a whole, switching from people beating the tar out of each other to another page describing green hills, the sun off the sea, and in the same breath decay, roadkill. Or maybe he's trying to paint a picture of an idyllic Wales, of how we all like to think of it, and then pulling back the curtain, telling you how real people, non-students, non-tourists, still are living in this country, in a place that's outwardly so lovely. The book talks a lot about the English-Welsh relationship in the wake of a referendum, in the wake of Brexit, and how, when making laws and deciding things, Britain, the word, is so often used just to mean England by those in power. There's a lot about land ownership, privatisation of land, exclusive ownership of property, purely so that untoward activity can be stopped whenever somebody behind a desk feels like it. There's a really big theme in here of, I'm sorry about your situation, I understand what's going on in your life, but please can you do it somewhere else? There's a line about people being ordered off a Welsh mountain where they've gone for their pilgrimage because it's going to be used for a grouse shooting by rich people. It's gross, really. It also made me really want to read a book that came out last year by Nick Hayes called The Book of Trespass. It's about how something like 92% of UK land is privately owned and the disgusting exclusionary classist behaviour of exclusive land ownership and British property law. I don't read a lot of non-fiction, but this book has sort of spurred me to want to read that. So keep an ear out for my thoughts on that one. A video will be coming. Another thing this book tackles in its climax is the idea that if a miracle were to happen, if a second coming of a Messiah or something like that were to ever actually occur, it would probably be broken down, smashed apart by people in power who don't want their authority challenged. The last 5 pages of this book were gross, they were vile, but really, sadly, probably quite realistic. So that's my thoughts on that. You'd probably like this book if you like Irvine Welsh. You'd like this book if you are a Dylan Thomas fan, I think. If you like Ian Banks's non-sci-fi stuff, you probably like this book too. Also, if you're interested, the title is a reference to a meteorological phenomenon called a Brocken spectre, which happens when the sun is behind you and projects your shadow onto a bank of fog with a sort of rainbow haze around it. Looks pretty darn magic. Thought that was interesting. I hadn't heard of that before until I read this. So thanks for watching that review. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more reviews. This is the first review of 2021, but there's more coming. I'm on Twitter, which I'll link below. Goodreads now, which I'll also link below. Leave a comment if you've read this book. What do you think? Have you read anything else by Niall Griffiths? Let me know. And I'll see you soon. Bye.